The state attorney's office wants to get Marissa Alexander's bond changed or revoked entirely. A hearing on this new motion is scheduled for Friday morning. We're still waiting to hear what Alexander's attorney has to say about this. Joining us now to discuss this latest development is local attorney Randy Reep. Randy, good morning and Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
The state attorney alleges that Ms. Alexander left her house, which is a violation of bail, to run some errands. Is that egregious enough for the judge to go ahead and revoke her bail?
Well, if it's egregious enough to revoke her bail, that's an interesting question. You have to understand that she was on kind of a tight leash anyway, and somewhat from a client management perspective, she needed to understand that any violation, whether it be serious or not, was going to be viewed probably pretty poorly.
And the big question is, will she continue to go ahead and violate the conditions of her bail? Because the first go-round, she went ahead and contacted her ex-husband, which she wasn't supposed to do.
Well, and that's obviously in the previous, before she was convicted, I guess to say. So will she learn her lesson? That's a great question. She needs to understand that it will substantially change her ability to negotiate this case if she's sitting in jail. So if her bond does get revoked, it changes the landscape of the case tremendously.
Is there anything that she or her lawyers can say to the judge at that hearing on Friday to convince them that the conditions of bail that exist right now should be maintained?
Well, and yes, there's a lot of things he can say, depending on the facts of what occurred and why she left her house and what she was doing. I've tap danced for many clients myself, and I guarantee you in front of Judge Daniels, he'll be tap dancing. Hopefully they have a very legitimate, sound, valid reason for her to do what she was told not to do. There's just very few good choices there.
All right, let's talk about the judge's demeanor, because that plays a role into what the final decision is going to be. You know, how does Judge Daniels usually rule in these kinds of cases?
There are always facts and circumstances individually dependent. He won't blanket rule on anything related to that. How will he rule in this case? I think you're going to find that the state attorney is going to put a great deal of pressure on him to revoke her bond because she had very specific conditions. How will he handle it? I think he's going to be very, very frustrated that he gave her a bond. If you remember, that happened at Thanksgiving. Almost a generous bond, I would suggest. And to have her be kind of fly in the face of that is concerning, and I think he's going to be unhappy with that.
So in theory, you're her attorney. How do you do that tap dancing you were talking about?
Well, there are many things. Hopefully, I can find that she was on her way to a doctor's appointment that was important, or something that somebody in her house needed for a very serious medical reason, or something maybe more less serious, but that had a very important meaning to her. I'd be interviewing her and trying to get my ducks in a row really quickly, but I'd be advocating for her as strongly as I could.
And let's go back to your point that if she does find herself back in jail, it could be detrimental to her case.
Well, look, here's the deal on that. Negotiations on a case, we recognize it's set for trial in March. Will it happen in March? That maybe not. But to resolve the case short of a trial is probably in her interest. But if she's sitting in jail, her negotiating capital shrunk tremendously. And that's why her being out on bond gives her a lot of time to make those sort of negotiation tactics. She is sitting in jail, the attorney's going to lose that opportunity.
Randy Reep, thank you for your perspective. Appreciate it.
Thank you.